I feel like everybody has to have a social presence, a social media presence, and it has to be kind of hot and heavy for people to remember.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 69, the special 69 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. I am your host, Chris, of course, joined always by Baby Girl. It's right there. Pumpkin, who is over there. And every week we have a special guest. This week's guest is IzzyDojo. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm not doing too bad. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm good. It's been a busy week, a lot going on, but this is also my birthday week, so that's exciting. Well, my birthday is on a
Well, happy
Sunday,
birthday.
so I'm claiming 2 weeks for my birthday this year. But yeah, it's been a lot between game stuff, GDEX stuff, and campaign stuff. But it's coming along. So yeah, we got some fun stuff to talk about today. Every week we kind of pull the interesting things from the news and we talk about it, but we can also go in any direction. And of course, we are so close to GDEX. So before we get started, just a reminder, thegdex.com. This is the last week for our early bird pricing, which ends on June 30th. As well as if you buy your ticket before June 30th, you get entered in to win a Nintendo Switch 2. So we've got two things happening at once, but those all end on June 30th. So if you want to get in on that action, make sure you buy your passes so you'll get a discounted rate and entered into a raffle. What more could you want? And then we have hopefully some updates. I can't say anything yet, but hopefully some updates about the Sandbox Incubator and the Shawnee XP Accelerator happening in the next, I don't know, like week or two. I guess next week. What day is? I should have looked this up. What day is the 4th? Next Friday? Okay. So probably not next week then. I assume that we'll have the information the following week. But just keep an eye on that. But otherwise, here we are. Tom is in chat. How you doing, Tom? Let's get cooking. So, Izzy, do you want to just maybe give a quick little intro about yourself, who you are, and what you do before we get started?
Sure. So, I'm IzzyDojo. I've been gaming since the 80s. I was born in 85, so I started off at I started off with Atari. So that
Nice.
shows my date.
I start off
So I
with
played
the
with
ColecoVision.
yeah. So I went Atari, and then in school it was the Commander 64,
The Commodore.
and then or
Yeah.
yeah, the Commodore 64, which I have one brand new behind me, unopened, still in its original box.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. And then Nintendo, which is when I fell in love with Mario and side-scrolling games, and then the original Sega Genesis, and then obviously the biggest one I fell in love with was the Nintendo 64 with Zelda. So I've been in the gaming industry for quite some time. I love all games. I treat them all equally. I believe that there's a lot to be told in a video game. So my goal nowadays, now that I'm 40 years old, I've started tuning into trying to spread the love of video games to people like me, or not even like me, but people who enjoy uh, a good story told by a video game. And as you can see nowadays, movies are coming out like the Minecraft movie, where now it's not just a video game, it's a movie, it's becoming an industry. Um, so I'm my goal nowadays, like I've been to your guys' convention over 7 times now, is to spread the love and spread the enjoyment that video games have brought to me to the world. So right now I've opened up what's called Is Media, and it is a company that is literally dedicated to going to conventions and showcasing new games, showcasing indie developers, people who really deserve the chance to have their voice heard, have their story told, and that's what I'm doing nowadays.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I guess I've known you then for about 7 years or so. Time is flying, but oh, hold on a second. I got a background noise here. But it's been an interesting 7 years. You've obviously like kind of seen GDEX grow from some of its earlier stages into where we are now. But you're wearing a Cleveland Gaming Expo shirt, so you go to a lot of shows, right? Is that kind of like one of your primary, I guess, avenues of content creation and promotion, is going to all these different shows and talking to developers?
So yes, but actually this is the only shirt I could find today because my other shirts are in the wash. I had GDEX on yesterday, so I didn't feel like wearing a dirty shirt to our show. But actually GDEX is my favorite. If I ever miss a show, it's never going to be GDEX. I felt GDEX from the first day. I came. So the story, it's a really interesting story, and I think you've probably heard it already. So me and my friend Brian, we went to ITT Tech, and I tried to look up one time while I was supposed to be doing a study. I was looking up gaming conventions instead of doing homework.
As one
So
as
I
one does,
found
yeah.
so I found GDEX, and I'm like, okay, it's in Columbus. The ticket prices aren't too bad. And I talked to Brian, and we decided, you know what, we're going to split it. He'll pay for the hotel, I'll pay for the tickets. So we're driving down there, and unfortunately for us, we picked a sketchy area of Columbus to have a hotel because I gave Brian the choice of picking a hotel. Probably not the best idea. So we pull in, he goes in, and I'd say about 6 minutes later, we're surrounded by the police. They have their guns pulled on us and everything because we match the description of somebody who just robbed the local gas station. So after they cleared us and decided that we weren't them and they left us alone, we finally settled into our hotel, and then we got up in the morning, got our Denny's, and we came to the show. It was a little nervous because it's Columbus and we're not really familiar with Columbus. So trying to find parking, trying to get there on time, trying to navigate all of that, and trying to, this was our first show. I mean, you were the first video game show we ever went to.
Oh
Well,
wow.
Developer Con.
Yeah.
So you were like the first. So getting in there and then just starting to talk to people. They had a school there that had a virtual reality backpack on. And it was amazing. And got to meet a lot of cool people, and the community, the people there, they made me feel so welcome and so like not noobish. So when I had questions, they answered them, because they wanted to answer them, not because they felt like they were obligated to. So after talking to developer after developer and literally seeing the passion in their eyes, their passion for what they were doing, and their stride to continue forward, that gave me motivation as a gamer that this was a good show, that this show was enlightening to me. It brought me more joy than I thought it would. I thought it was just going to be like, walking aisles, looking at people's games, not really conversing with people very much.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was there, they pulled me in. So they pretty much, GDEX stole my heart for video games and video game developers. So it really did a lot for me because I really needed it around that time. Just school was crazy, and it was just a break from reality. And it was cool to see everything that they were doing that wasn't reality. So I really got pulled in, and after that show, that was every year, constantly checking, every couple of weeks, checking for the next GDEX date, checking to see hotels, making sure that our schedules aligned so me and my buddies could go. And like I said, we've done it for years. So, and I don't regret it. I mean, I love it. It was probably the best conference I've ever gone to, and every year it continues to get better and better and better. Even though I really wasn't a fan of the Origin show when the Origins was there,
Mm-hmm.
not the knockdown, but I felt like they kind of overtook everything.
Sure.
But I still enjoyed going there and talking to the developers.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. I mean, if this is year 13 for GDEX, so it's really kind of unbelievable that it has existed. Like we are closer to being 20 than we are one, right? Which is just wild to think about. Um, and I'm glad that you felt that and you expressed that, because crafting, like for me, crafting the environment and the vibe is sort of the most important part. I want people to come in and feel like they are, you're not just going to like a trade show and playing stuff, but like you are there with people that are excited and they're passionate. And for a lot of folks, a lot of the developers, like GDEX is the only opportunity they have really to showcase what they've been working on. And as you're probably fully aware, the quality of the games is just gotten so much better. Like the average quality of the games that are there at GDEX now is way better than it was, 5 years ago, and definitely way better than it was when we started. And that's really exciting to see. And I don't know. I'm just super proud of the community that we've built. I make sure that it's very supportive and that we're backing people up, and that the expectations are clear on what we expect for people, and how they support each other. And then, sort of lastly, to end my rant here. Not that this is all about me, but I constantly remind folks that, like, game development, particularly now after COVID, is such a, like, in your house kind of alone thing sometimes. And, like, yeah, maybe you're connecting with your team on Discord or whatever, but it's not the same as being around people who love the same thing that you do, who really understand it. And, like, as a fellow gamer, like, you and I could talk about gaming has its own language, so, like, you and I can talk and make jokes about things that, like, other people just aren't going to get. It's just going to fly over their head. And so I kind of try to remind people that's like, look, coming to GDEX, yes, it's about showcasing. Yes, there's a business and a networking element to it, but it's also just nice to spend the weekend around other people who get it, who just kind of get what you're doing. Because most of us in our day-to-day job, like I do a lot of work here at Multivarious. We're a game design studio, but a lot of the work we do is not in the, like, direct gaming space. And certainly, as I've kind of dipped into the politics world, like, gaming, like, it's just not even a thing that a lot of these folks are remotely aware of, other than that video games exist, right? So I'm kind of curious, you talk about coming and having a good time, but, like, why the, like, sort of journalist aspect of it, the content creation aspect? Like, you come and you do interviews with these developers. I mean, you've interviewed me several times at the show, and I always make sure that I block out 5 or 10 minutes so we can chat on the show floor. But what got you, like, interested in that sort of content generation portion of it?
So funny story. So one day, I'm a contractor, so I work with a lot of contractors, and I realized that through talking to older contractors that play video games, that most of them realize that kids don't have a grip on what a video game used to be or what video games are about. It's become so divided. Like, you get on Fortnite and you can play, shooter, run around and do that stuff, but most people don't actually play a video game for the story anymore. And so what I do now is I try to talk to the developers to see why they're passionate of building the game. Like, why did they build the game? What story are they trying to tell? What was the motivation? So by building my doing the journalism and stuff, I'm trying to push out there that there's more to a video game than just running around shooting at people. A game should have a story or should have some sort of, logic. Like, I don't remember if you remember this game, but it was Toaster. Is like, I think it was Toaster. See, let me check my thing. Toaster Defense.
Mm-hmm.
It was at your show.
Yeah.
It's on my one screen above me. And the Trials of Beatty, that was also at your show.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple different ones that are up here on my screen, but, like, the Toaster Defense was the toaster was in love with another kitchen utensil, and his life was dedicated to protecting his princess. And so, like, it wasn't just a game of running around shooting toast slices at enemies. It was protecting his love. It had a story behind it. The same thing with the Trials of Beatty. He's trying to, escape where he's at, and, there's power ups and stuff like that. But you have to have a story, or I shouldn't say you have to have, but most video games start based off of a storyline. And younger generations, they don't get that anymore. I feel like throughout the years, like, it was funny you brought COVID up, because I was looking up the statistics a couple days ago that prior to 2020, there was only approximately 30 million YouTube subscribers, And now, as of 2025, they say there's almost over 100 million, almost 125 million subscribers on YouTube. And they blame it all on COVID, that people got stuck at the house and that they needed something to do, which, it's a double-edged sword because you know how YouTube can be. There can be some good stuff on
Sure.
there and there can be some stuff. So, but I realized while in COVID that there's not very many people who cover video games. You see people like playing video games, and that's cool. But watching somebody play a video game and then actually understanding what they're playing, how they're playing, their playing style, and what the story is, that's skipped over quite often. So like you can jump into a middle of a stream. The guys could have been playing for 6 or 7 days, and you don't know what's already lapsed. Like what the story's about. You just watch them running through these battlegrounds or whatever, and um, there's no backstory. So I like to try to explain the story every time I jump on a stream or on a game or something. I explain what the last stream was about because I always want my audience to understand that the game has a story and the story's this.
Yeah, that's a great idea. One of the things I've been noticing, so I am doing a let's play of Fallout 4 right now for my Senate campaign because it seemed like a very rebuilding the wasteland, connecting people together, and actually Death Stranding, which we're going to talk about, it's coming out today. I think I'm going to do that on my campaign stream as well, Death Stranding 2. But I've been noticing as I've been editing the videos that like if I don't stay on top of editing and prepping the video, I have forgotten what I had been doing in the previous episodes. And so that's a really like good insight that maybe I should do, excuse me, like just a quick little recap of what I was doing and what the plan is at the start of every video. Because particularly something like Fallout 4, I'm on episode I think 28, and each is about an hour to an hour and a half long. Some are almost 2 hours long, so that's a lot of content for people to kind of keep on top of. So yeah, that's a really good thing. You mentioned something too about I think there is a ton of content around like games and like reviews, and there's some content about analysis, but there's not a lot about the actual creation of games and the thought process around how games are made and why decisions are made, which was the impetus for my original show, the Volpe Creates show, which I haven't done in a while, but also this show, which is to bring people on who are in the games industry in some way, so they can talk about all these different elements of video games besides just like doing a review or like what they think of a game, which is fine. Like that's all fine. But like, I wanted to have conversations about the industry and like why decisions are made and the directions we're going and all of those kind of things, particularly since the video game industry is so large now and everything is happening so quickly. I just wanted content for myself. Like I wanted to bring on guests so I could talk to them because I just couldn't find that stuff on YouTube. I'm sure it's out there, but now that there's like billions of channels, it's so hard to find this stuff. So that was the impetus for the Volpe Creates show and for the Sandbox weekly podcast. And particularly the Sandbox podcast is devoted to helping developers kind of connect and be successful. So I find that just sort of a really interesting take. We've got someone in the chat says the importance to have a connection with the character or the journey for sure. I totally feel that. As I've gotten older, it's weird. Like gameplay and mechanics are important to me for sure. But I kind of like, if I'm not engrossed in the story or I don't feel like it's taking me in an interesting direction, I kind of just don't care. I just feel like there's so many games out there that have cool mechanics that you can have fun playing, that if the story layer to it isn't that interesting, I just kind of, I don't know, I feel disappointed. So like Borderlands 4 is coming out here this year, and I'm kind of curious about that because I didn't really play the many of the Borderlands, but I played 3, and I thought the story was fine. I know a lot of people really hated it because it was coming off of Borderlands 2. But I was like, are they going to be able to make Borderlands 4 a more engaging story or not? That's how I also feel about GTA 6. Like, what are the characters in the story going to be for that game, and is it going to grab me? I mentioned I'm playing Fallout 4 now. Like I love Fallout 4 in survival mode. I think is one of the best games like ever made. The systems and everything just works so well. It's got a great vibe to it, but the story and the RPG elements are definitely lacking. And if that game had like Skyrim or typical kind of Bethesda RPG elements, I think it would be an unstoppable game. But it's just something I've noticed. I've gotten older. It's like story is more important to me. I don't know if it sounds like maybe you share that idea as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've played so this weekend sent you a message. Violets of Emrith I'm gonna butcher this name. Amiskis, maybe I don't even know how to say the name, but it's called the Violets of something. It's a pretty cool game. I played it for almost 40 minutes, apparently. I didn't realize I played it for that long. And the guy didn't know about GDEX. There's like three of them there, or no, two of them there. And they didn't know anything about GDEX. So I sat there and explained to them what GDEX was about. And they were like, so this isn't really the show for us. I said, no, Torg is not the show for you. I says, your show is in Columbus. I was like, let me get you hooked up with Chris. Let's get you where you need to be because he said that being there that nobody really cared about the story. They just jumped on and they just kind of ran around and they
Mm-hmm.
got up after like 2 or 3 minutes and walked away. I played the game for 45 minutes. It gave me Zelda vibes. I asked them for the story, and the two developers that were there, their eyes lit up. I was the first person to say, "Hey, why did you design this game? What was the purpose behind your game? Like, what made you want to do this?" And then he told me he's been working on it for 5 years. Every weekend, every 5 or 10 minutes he was putting some time into it. And I explained to him, that's what we need. This is what we need at GDEX. This is your passion. This is what you want to do. But I was like, have you ever networked with anybody? And he's like, no, I don't know anybody that does game development. I says, okay, well, this is why you're in the wrong place. And I pushed him your way because people who like you and me who this is our passion. I mean, we love doing it, but this
Mm-hmm.
is our passion as the storytelling. He had an amazing story in that game. It looks like it's going to be a massively big game, but he definitely needs help with it. He needs more input, he needs more advice, and he doesn't have that where he is. So me, like I said, doing the journalist side of it, things is I get to see the struggles, I get to see the passion, I get to see the stories, I get to see the characters, and I get to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And if I see something that I can improve on, I try to improve on it. And so, like with me sending him to GDEX, I feel like that's a big step in his journey. I feel like
Sure.
once he gets there, he's going to meet so many people. You guys have amazing classes. I always brag about the classes you guys do. And like they're not just somebody talking to a chalkboard, they're talking to an audience, answering questions that people have. And that's what GDEX is all about, which was like I said, makes it one of the best shows I've ever been to.
Yeah. I know Violence in Video Games, who's in the chat, is they have a space already on the GDEX floor, so that's exciting. Baby, you gotta get down. Gotta get down to you. And yeah, I mean, that's the whole purpose of GDEX is to be a platform to help folks be successful. Like that's all it is. And we started it as a way originally for Columbus developers to kind of showcase what they were working on. But even in the first year, we had people from 8 states and Canada come to GDEX and showcase or guests and all that. So it's like, even in its first year, it wasn't just, Columbus or Central Ohio. And the educational element, like I say this all the time because I don't think people realize this. It's so strange. The video game industry is like so big, right? It's bigger than music and movies combined times two, and you still haven't hit the size of the video game industry. And yet it's also just so unknown to so many people. And so one of the things that I'm constantly letting folks know about is the educational component of GDEX because I think we had 88 educational sessions last year over the course of the weekend. And Tom and I were working on some GDEX stuff this week. I was working on the schedule. And hopefully in like a week I'll have the first kind of iteration of the schedule up. But the educational opportunities that you get at GDEX literally, and I'm not being hyperbolic here, literally cannot are not mimicked anywhere else, certainly in the Midwest. And so like you're getting speakers from like Xbox and Unity and Epic and whatever. Talking to some folks from Blizzard right now, Naughty Dog, Studio Santa Monica, Riot, just to name a few. I mean, we've got like one guy, for example, that I've worked with, Marcus. He's got almost 40 AAA games that he's worked on under his belt. Like these are like high quality professionals that are talking to you about stuff. And I mean, we've got like Ross comes in and gives a law talk so that we can understand things about like IP and what are the legal things going on. Artificial intelligence is going to be a big thing this year for sure, and we're going to talk about that. And so just I'm always letting folks know that like, hey, GDEX is more than just coming and playing games. Even if it was just coming and playing games, like that's awesome, right? But there's so many opportunities for folks and other developers to just network and connect with folks and build those opportunities. One of the things that we're doing this year that we haven't done in years past is we're creating a developer list. And so when you fill out your application, you can put an email on there, and we're going to just create a giant list of all the developers who were at the show and send that out to everybody so that the folks that you meet during the happy hours and the networking events, you can stay connected to throughout the rest of the year. Because that's one of the big issues with GDEX that we're always trying to address, but it's been challenging, is what do you do in the remaining, 360 days of the year, right? When you're not at GDEX. And the issue that we've had is we're in this weird balance where GDEX takes so much work. It takes a tremendous amount of work to get that show up and running and going, but we don't make any money on it. So like I can't hire staff to fully focus on GDEX, right? Like I would love to hire somebody whose entire job is just maintaining GDEX, staying on our Discords, connecting to developers, making sure they have resources they need, all that. But we just don't make any money on the show. So hopefully we can get the show large enough where we can do that. Like that's one of our core goals, but we're not there yet. And COVID totally killed us. Like 2019, we were like shooting up like a rocket. And then when COVID hit in 2020, it just like, in essence, it was us starting over from scratch. We had the infrastructure and we had the connections and networks, so that kind of helped a little bit, but it was rough. But the point is, for folks like video game, our violence in video games, and all the other developers we have, is like we want to create this constant community that can help support each other. And so I'm kind of curious because you said something where you're talking to people and like, oh, they'd never heard of GDEX before. That is like our common. Like every time I hear that, I'm just like, oh man, like why? How are we so bad at promoting this show, considering the amount of time and money we put into it? And so I'm kind of curious, like from your perspective as sort of more of a content creator and a journalist. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how are we missing segments, or the things that we could be doing that can use the year before the show, the build up to really let people know about it, or to just do better?
Um, well, I know that social media definitely has a huge impact on most people. Like until I found GDEX using Google, uh, after I found that and I got on the pages on Facebook, I started seeing almost every day I saw something. I mean, just leading up to GDEX now, every day I get on Facebook, I see it. I feel like everybody has to have a social presence, a social media presence, and it has to be kind of hot and heavy for people to remember. Just like with Torg, I have seen probably 20 advertisements for Torg in the last 5 weeks. But like I said, GDEX I see every day. because it's something I interact with. I feel like with GDEX, if the social media was updated more and it was like pushed out there more, I feel like more people would see it. I'm a firm believer that Google ads is amazing, especially when you partner it with like YouTube, that you can get a lot of eyes on stuff. Like for example, I have a video on YouTube. I think it's got almost 85,000 views. It was a short that I did. It cost me $1.05 on Google Ads,
Mm-hmm.
and I think 85,000 hits. 85 people's eyes, 85,000 eyes saw that ad.
Yeah.
So I feel like advertising is huge. If you advertise correctly, I feel like it explodes on its own, and you don't have to kill yourself.
Yeah, well, we've definitely done a lot of advertising. Last year kind of killed us. The weekend last year was awful for us. Um,
Yeah, I remember you had that fest outside. Nobody could get parking. It
yeah,
was bad. I was talking to somebody at Torg the other day, and they said that yes, this past weekend that you couldn't even get into Columbus Convention Center, and it screwed all the vendors again. I said that sucks because that's exactly what happened with GDEX.
yeah. That you're saying that happened? I'm sorry, with Torgs? Is that what you said?
No, not with Torgs. Somebody that was at Torgs had said there was a convention the following weekend at the Columbus Convention Center,
Mm,
and the roads were blocked off. Couldn't get parking. He
yeah,
said, I don't remember what convention it was, but I guess it was pretty bad.
yeah, yeah. This year our weekend is much better. Because last year we spent hands down the most amount of money we'd ever spent on promotion, like by a large paid advertising, billboards, social media, all sorts of stuff, radio, newspapers, uh, and this year we're going to be spending a fair amount of money as well. But I just think our weekend in general is a lot better, and it's hard too. Like, we've been around 13 years. We work at the convention center. They're really good to us, but everything, you may or may not know this, but everything in a lot of, particularly in Columbus, but in a lot of large cities, is based around hoteling. How many hotel rooms are you going to use per night for your event? Because that's how a lot of the tourism agencies get paid. So they get a portion of this hotel tax that's gained, and it becomes one of those things where it's like, well, we're never gonna get, like, we use a fair amount of hotel rooms. We average like maybe 80 to 100 a night at our normal one. Probably, I don't know, maybe 150 a night if you look at all the surrounding areas and Airbnbs and all that jazz, right? But some shows like the Arnold could be using 1,000 or 1,200 rooms a night, right? Like, and so when you use that many hotel rooms, you also get first dibs at your weekends. And you can go and block out your weekends years in advance, which we can't do because we're not a large enough show. So the convention center is usually pretty cool. Like, they'll let us kind of book out a little bit ahead of time compared to like where maybe we should, kind of, just because we've been around for so long and whatever. But when you're able to block out your weekends years in advance, like, you get the best weekends, and it makes it really hard sometimes. But last year was just a disaster. This year will be much better, I promise. Uh,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, last year was bad. I remember trying to find parking, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I think I was in three different parking garages, and I remember the last day walking in, somebody had come down for the Sunday show, and they were like, "Do you know where GDEX is?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Follow me. We're pulling into this one here." And he said he was driving around for almost 20 minutes trying to find a place to park to go to see GDEX.
yeah.
And he walked with us in, and everything was good from that point on. It was kind of cool.
Well,
But
thanks for helping
yeah,
them.
yep. We also met a couple people who are down there that pulled in right behind us on the first day that we got there. That came from Lorain, Ohio. So they were like 5 minutes from my house, and they drove down there. They said it was the first year they heard about it. They've never been there before, they asked me when we were walking across the bridge, what do I think of the show, and all that. And I explained it to them. I said, this is what the show's about. I says, if you're here, and if this is what you're looking for, this place will provide that. And
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure I saw them a couple weeks ago, and they asked me, "Am I going to GDEX this year?" I says, "I'll be there," and they're like, "Cool, so will we." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll see you there then."
Awesome.
So
Well, good. We got some fun stuff this year too. Some fun new things. And I do think that just being on a better weekend, it is an OSU home game, but it's against like Baylor, so that shouldn't be a big. I think it's not one of the bigger teams, so that shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, we've got a lot of fun stuff. There's also there is a clear economic thing going on right now where people are being very careful about how they spend money. They're not traveling as much, so we'll see how that works. But some of the games that I'm seeing are really cool. Tom has been getting the icons up on the website, so that's really exciting. And I think let me just double check for fun here. What are we at? Wow, we're
uh, so Uni had a question. She says, "Do you have smaller creators that promote you?" She's a gamer that I ran into on TikTok Gaming about 2 weeks ago.
mm-hmm.
She's a small time creator. She does push out quite a bit of content. I got a chance to hang out with her yesterday on her stream, and that was her question: was do you use smaller creators to promote your event?
Yeah, so we definitely try. I think we could probably be a little better at it. Generally, I've found that just personally, I think this is part my personality and part like logistics is that the smaller to mid-sized creators, developers, those are the people that are always the most excited. They're the ones that are going to promote the shows. Once you start getting like YouTubers and influencer, I hate the term influencers, but content creators that are like bigger, then you're dealing with their managers and it just becomes this transactional thing. And like, it just, the amount of work you have to spend doing it is just, it's just a way different experience. Whereas like folks that have come to the show, they're excited about it. They want to be there. Are they're always excited to go. And then we also work with like the International Game Developer Association, the IGDA. They promote us. We offer a discount on tickets for IGDA members. But we always need more friends. So if people want to promote, we don't have it yet, but we're working on a press kit so that people can promote. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities where we could be growing our show, and I think, I think we're, to just be honest, I think we're probably like, if we could get another 1,000 people above what we normally get, I think that would put us in a position where I could hire that, GDEX director person. And at that point, I think our ability to scale upwards would be, instrumental. It would be huge. But right now, it's just our core team, Tom, myself, Katie, Wes, who are doing it. And we're also doing other stuff. Like, we have a business, and that business is how we keep our lights on. So, all right. So I want to jump topics real fast. We can always circle back to
Okay,
GDEX anytime, but
that's fine.
I'm just kind of curious because Death Stranding 2 is coming out this week. It's I don't know. Did you play Death Stranding 1 by chance?
No, I did not.
Okay. So the thing I want to talk about Death Stranding 2 is, and I did a little video about this yesterday. I'm going to post it on my Volpe Creates channel today, but I really liked Death Stranding 1, but I wasn't like super jazzed about Death Stranding 2 coming out. It was something I'd be like, oh, I'm sure I'll get around to it and play it. However, it's been getting really, really good reviews. It's got a 90 on Metacritic. People are speaking very highly of it. And so I think I'm downloading it in the background, and I'm going to play it today. Like I said, I'll probably play it for my campaign, Volpe for America, at all the social medias if you want to follow my Senate campaign here in Ohio. But the important part of what I'm bringing up is that I'm really glad and I'm excited that there is at least still a couple big AAA studios that are willing to put money into doing weird shit.
Hmm.
Like, we just don't see a lot of unique, novel ideas in the AAA space that often. And, like, I think Cyberpunk was a great game. It was doing some really cool stuff after it got kind of fixed from the disaster of its launch. Obviously, the From Software games, I think, are for what they do are amazing. But the vast majority of the AAA games that you see are kind of doing the same thing, more or less. And don't get me wrong, there's great AAA games, but most of the kind of weird stuff you see is in the indie, smaller scale space. So, as a gamer, as somebody who loves video games, and this is what my video is about, I think people should be excited, whether or not you like Death Stranding or want to play Death Stranding. You should be excited that there are people still trying to do cool, weird things. And Hideo Kojima is like one of those few, game director auteurs that understands video games. You spoke earlier, like one of the first things you mentioned about, excuse me, video game movies. But there's very few video games and video game creators that really understand the genre of video games and like play with that genre as a concept and try new ideas. And so I'm kind of just curious about your thoughts on whether or not you like Death Stranding, but just you know having those little opportunities every so often where a big game is trying to do new weird stuff.
Yeah, so I have 2 points on that. Well, I have a couple points. So yeah, I had to look it up really quick. Yes, I am familiar with the game, and I did see that Washington Post did say that he was at the peak of his power. Like this is one of his best games he's developed so far.
Yeah, which is saying a
So yeah,
lot considering what he's
which
made.
is well, yeah, he's made quite a bit. But like it's cool to see that it's got a 9.9 out of 10 on IGN. So it looks like a really good game. PlayStation 5. So I think it'll be a good game. I think it definitely is going to push new limits. And I think as a game developer, even as an indie game developer, it's always about doing something new, unique, and even if it's weird, push it out there because people like things that are different. Um, Swinging back through about the whole movie thing, you can tell when a director has played a video game and it makes a movie compared to a director who has never played a video game and tries to make a video game movie.
For sure.
So, I work obviously in the movie industry, so I'm always revolving around all the new movies. So like Jurassic Park is supposed to do 210 million on opening day. It is literally going to obliterate Pixar's newest movie, Elo. It's already destroyed it, and it's not even open yet. That comes out on the 2nd of July, and the ticket sales have already pretty much buried Pixar's new movie. So if that doesn't tell you something, 80s and 90s kids still love Jurassic Park. They're still going to show up. But it has the same director. Steven Spielberg is never going to give up his role in making a good movie. But Borderlands, the movie, it was a flop. It didn't do well at all. It bottomed in movies because the developer who made it never really played video games.
Yeah.
And so when
You
you
know,
saw Mario,
it's funny,
you know,
not to interrupt you real fast, but you mentioned the Borderlands movie, and I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I still haven't seen that, and I was like, oh wait, no, I just watched that with my friend like 3 weeks ago, and I do not remember a single thing about it. I could not tell you what the plot was or how it ended, uh, which is, I think, pretty telling.
yeah. So that developer that made that movie wasn't a video gamer. And you could tell by how the movie was directed that he had no insight on what Borderlands was about. But like you said, you see Super Mario. I mean, Super Mario Brothers, that did really well. That was directed by a person who was an 80s gamer, who played video games, and who put his whole spin on Mario, which still fell within the realm of Mario's world,
Mm-hmm.
and did an amazing job at it. in Minecraft, the Minecraft guy, he wasn't a very big video gamer, but everybody he hired had played Minecraft at some point in their life. And he was very when they did the pig, um he wasn't going to originally put I can never remember the famous guy, I can't remember his name
You
off the
talking
top of
about
my head.
Nicolas Cage?
No, not Nicolas Cage. The streamer that did all the Minecraft. Oh, Technoblade. Thanks, Uni. She saved me.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Technoblade. They weren't going to originally put Technoblade in it because he didn't know who Technoblade was. One of the kid actors, the boy actor that played um
I never saw the
not
Minecraft
Steve.
movie, so
It's pretty good. I honestly I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. It was actually pretty good. It was better than Borderlands. You'll remember the ending on that one.
okay, yeah.
Um, but
Whew, that was a rough
they
one.
because he listened to his staff, he listened to people who played the video game, and that director went with the flow, and it became an amazing movie. In fact, it became so good that most movie theaters had to hire security because of the movie. We spent, I think, almost $500,000 on security worldwide at our theaters because of Minecraft. It was that good. So a lot of destruction, but it was a good movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that there's always been, this is something I've said I say this actually far more than I want to say, but video gamers, particularly gamers that are like our age, and maybe, 20 years younger, we are constantly used to being pandered to by people who want our money or want us for something and are just like it's like that Steve Buscemi with the hat in high school. It's like, hello, fellow youngsters or whatever, like they'll say stuff about video games and be like, oh, we're gonna do a video game movie or whatever, and it's so fucking obvious that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand the source material. They don't get the vibe of why people might like this game or this experience. And we're pandered to all the time because there's a lot of money in video games, but people don't want to actually exert the effort. And I think some of it too is just people don't understand it, and they think video games are stupid and childish, and they don't get the, like, when video games are running on all cylinders as an art form in a media format, video games are just way better than a lot of other mediums. Now, music, movies, books, painting, like, they're all doing different things, right? But there is nothing that can replicate the experience of a really good video game, like that interactivity, that immersion. When that's like running at high level, and just a lot of people don't understand that, and they just think it's like running around shooting things and laughing and having fun, which is fine. I mean, that's cool too, right? But there is a lot of nuance, and I've had the conversation with others where video games have finally gotten to the point, I'd say about a decade ago, when we really started to see where video games got to the point where they were creating really fleshed out video game experiences that cannot be done in other mediums. There's just some games that just don't. I think actually The Last of Us, particularly The Last of Us Part 2, is a game that obviously people are enjoying the show and whatnot, but that game is doing specific things that require the medium of video. It's playing with video games as a medium. The Witness does that. Even actually, did you ever play PT, the horror game by Hideo Kojima?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
PT did a lot of really cool things that like required the medium to be a video game. And so I think that's really cool. We're starting to see video games really come into their own and showcase experiences that cannot be replicated as movies or books or whatever, which I think is pretty cool. But video games are also still a young industry. If you want to say like maybe 50 years, kind of like, really, if you're thinking like mid 80s is when video games as we know it kind of started with the Nintendo, the NES and whatnot. We're at 40 years. That's not a very long time. Like,
Yeah.
music's been around for like 100,000 years. Writing has been around for tens of thousands of years. So even movies over 100 years old, right? So like 40 years. I mean, hell, I'm 44. You know, I don't think I'm that
We're
old.
older than Google.
Yeah, totally. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and I'm glad that Death Stranding 2 is doing. I honestly didn't expect it to do that well. I don't know why. I shouldn't never doubt Hideo Kojima. He'll always surprise you. Um, but I'm just glad that there's a weird, funky game that has a AAA budget, and it looks gorgeous. Like it looks phenomenal. I can't wait. I've got a 4K OLED TV that I'm gonna play it on, so I'm super excited about that. But well, we're getting close to wrapping up here. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we close down the episode?
Let me see. Uni, do you have anything you want to ask him while we have him on stream?
Yeah,
Um,
feel free to ask any
how's
questions.
how's so you got GDEX on your agenda. You have state senator on your agenda.
U.S. senator, federal senator.
U.S. federal senator. How's that coming along so far for you?
It's good. It's been a little slow. Well, I mean, I've only officially been a senator. I've had the paperwork in for like 2.5 weeks or whatever, so it's still pretty new. But I've also had, GDEX is taking up time. And then I've mentioned on the show before that my best friend just got diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer. And so, that was like a couple of weeks of kind of navigating that and figuring out what the therapy is going to look like and stuff. And just kind of a general level of exhaustion. But yeah, I'm excited to get cooking. My big thing that I'm going to start doing, if you want me to come out to your hood, I'm going to start traveling around Ohio and just meeting people, doing like little town halls, listening to what's on people's minds and having conversations about how, as a representative of the state and a leader of the state, I could help make Ohio a better place. And so I'm super excited about that, going and chatting and meeting lots of new people. And I've been doing a lot of hikes lately around Ohio, so I can kind of like go to different areas and just kind of get a vibe of what they're like. I've been all over Ohio over the years, but there's certain areas that you just kind of don't always spend a lot of time in. But yeah, I think it's going well. VolpeForAmerica.com if you want to go to the website, and then Volpe for America at all the social medias. I'm posting videos, and like I said, I'm doing streams. So if you want to join me on my stream and just ask, talk about whatever, ask me questions. If you just want to say what's on your mind, it's all good. It's just a place for people to come and hang out and feel like they can talk to a quote unquote politician in just like a normal way where it doesn't have to be scary and whatnot. And just like GDEX, I'm very, if we haven't had any issues yet, but if people jump on and they start spouting nonsense and lies or being hateful or whatever, I'll mute you as a warning and then ban you, because the purpose of this is to create a place that people can feel comfortable asking questions and talking about stuff. So
Yeah, I agree. So Uni said, "Do you have a podcast?" Which I know you do. I just don't know what the name of it is.
yeah, so we have this podcast, the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast, and then the other one is the Volpe Creates show. I haven't done that one in a while though. I'd like to get that one kind of dusted back off, but I'm gonna start kind of being a little bit more out there. But I have my YouTube channel and my social media. My personal is at Volpe Creates, all one word.
Yeah, I put that in my chat. I just typed it out.
Okay, cool.
So, well,
Sweet.
let's see. So it sounds like we've pretty much touched on everything that we needed to. I'm hoping for a good turnout for your show this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
already,
appreciate the support, man. I really love coming and you coming and us chatting. We'll do our little interview again if you wanna hear what I
yeah,
have to say. Happy to do that.
always, always.
Um,
Yeah, I'm getting ready to. I'm gonna edit this today. Hopefully tonight, get this edited, get it up on YouTube and everything. Like I
get
said, just
this
continue to
interview.
spread. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
you don't have to edit. Well, I'll have this up on YouTube probably in the next 2 hours. So,
Okay. Yeah. If you want to shoot me a link to it, I'll make
yep.
sure I get it. That way I can share it. Because, like I said, I would love to. I'm trying to really spread GDEX this year. I'm trying to really push it harder than I did last year. So I'm hoping that some of my viewers will show up this year. I know a couple did last year. I
Sweet.
think 3 or 4 people showed up.
Well, I'm very grateful for the help and support. I really do. So thank you. Awesome. Well, this has been episode 69 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. A reminder that we do post these videos up on YouTube at the Sandbox.Space YouTube channel. So you can just search that on YouTube. And then also GDEX, www.thegdex.com. Don't forget the. If you want to buy your discounted tickets by June 30th. But otherwise, really appreciate everybody being on the show. So on behalf of myself, baby girl who's in my lap, Pumpkin who's over there, everybody in the chat, and our special guest, IzzyDojo, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good day.